We're going back to London 2012, and this is genuinely the first time I've ever had a chance to dig this deep and analyse my gold-winning jump. I'm really excited about this because this technology is going to bring it to you in a whole new level. And we're starting off in round 2. Round 1 is one to forget. I managed to run through, let the emotions slightly get the better of me. So we're going to go from one when I actually managed to take off. Now, one of the key things about being a long jumper is that you have to be quick. Speed is integral to jumping a long way. But also what you're trying to do is stay as controlled as you possibly can be on the runway. There's certain aspects. For me, I had a 4-stride push, a 4-stride transition, 10 strides of running, a penultimate and a takeoff. And getting those right takes thousands of repetitions. On this night, certain things went right, other things maybe not so well, but I was lucky to get out the other end unscathed. So we can see at this point here, I'm 2.3 metres in distance with regards to my stride. And as I was mentioning, the idea is we want to shorten that as we go onto the board to get to the right position to make sure that it's a quick takeoff and throw yourself through the air to get as far as you possibly can. So on round 2, we managed to get that quite well. So I've gone from the 2.3 to 2.22. And you can sort of see there as well, there's a dorsiflex position, which is basically my toes up on the foot that's about to strike the board. I'm coming through quite nicely. I'm setting the body up. Chest is up, head is up. You need to make sure all of these features and all of these points of your body are all aligned at the right time. Because if they go out, then it means you're not going to jump particularly far. So then we come into the actual takeoff itself. And we can see there's a small amount of distance between me and the plasticine. And that was me just trying to be ever so slightly safer. The first round had been a run-through. It meant I didn't have a particularly good measurement at that point, and I needed to make sure I didn't make the same mistakes I made 4 years before in Beijing. So at this point, everything has gone perfectly well. So I've got myself in that position I need to be in. I've got myself nicely over my ankles. So my hips and my bum, if you can see on that picture, they are all in line. That's exactly what you want. It gives you a short contact time. It means you can use that as the catalyst to take off and you can fly through the air in a good position. And what we find through there is the speed, the angle, everything was marrying up really, really well. And I mentioned it before, the head and the chest, these are really, really important parts. What I would do while I was in any form of stadium in the world is I'd find a focal point. And that would be something in the crowd, something in the stadium which I could get my eyes locked on. So once I was in the air, I would try and search for that focal point in what is a very, very short amount of time. Because as long as I did that, the head, the chest, they were all up, it meant I could complete the hitch hang jump that I would always do. It was how I used to jump. Some people would do a hitch kick with all the bicycle kicking in the air. Others would just do a hang technique, which is straight away kicking those feet out in front of you. But the angle of the jump and the speed of the jump, these are so important to make sure you have an opportunity to perform it and perfect it, get it into the right position. So we only had, well, for me in that one, 8.04 seconds to complete from taking off. And bear in mind as well, every takeoff is a bit like being hit by a car because you're putting about 7 cubic tons of pressure through each joint as you take off. So it's quite hard, and it hurts quite a lot, and you have to be quite strong when you're doing it. So the better you put yourself in the positions through drilling the runway, gives you the better opportunity to perform the jump as you need to. So going into round 4. Now, this one was great for me. I'd managed to get the distance that I needed. This was actually a long enough jump to win the Olympic title as well. I didn't know that, though, at the time, of course. And I believed, knowing the quality of the athletes that were in that final, 8 metres 21 was never going to be enough to win it. But what happened going into the 4th round was something that was so incredibly special for me emotionally as well. Jessica Ennis had just gone round the track. She'd just completed her 800 metres, and we all remember the famous arms aloft as she becomes an Olympic champion. I had the luxury of being on the runway and cheering for her and shouting as she went round on the back straight. As soon as she crossed that line, I wanted to be an Olympic champion too. I knew, hearing that crowd and seeing how everybody had responded, I wanted my moment in the sun as well. And I took that into round 4. I believed if I could hit everything correctly, I could jump long enough to really put the competition to bed. So I let my emotions absolutely take over and I went for it. And we can find on this attempt here, now, speed got up greater, and that was definitely due to the emotional side of things. I was becoming quite emotional. I wanted this Olympic title. I knew this was my great opportunity to do so. But interestingly, as I came into the board, as much as I was quicker, I make an ever so slight mistake here, something that I think Dan, my coach at the time, probably reprimanded me for about a week or two later. We go from a 2.26 stride at this point, and then we've come onto the board itself, and you can already see from the way that my legs are wider, that I'm sort of reaching into the board. This, in this area, known as the danger zone, as we say, this is an opportunity to really get hurt. And I mentioned it before, I did this exact same thing and I got hurt in 2013. I ruptured a hamstring from doing this exact thing incorrectly. The idea is shorten that stride, get your hips over the board, get yourself into the air in a really, really good position. Here, I've gone slightly longer. I really have risked it. And I think that's probably down to the emotional side of what was going on at the time. But from the injury that would happen a year later, for me, it meant that I actually got in the position in the air where I needed to be again. Effectively, what I've done is I've pulled together all of the emotion, all of the strength, all of the training that I've had in order to force my way through that position still. So you can see the angle of the jump has gone up as well. We've gone to a 36-degree angle. And interestingly, as the angle goes up, the flight time goes up as well. So we're in the air that little bit longer, which actually gives me that opportunity to make sure that, especially at the end of the jump, I can really kick those legs out. So I've held that position, I've worked my way into it, and I have an opportunity now to put out a distance which actually gives me a chance to win. And I'll be honest, even with this jump as well, I still didn't 100% believe it was going to be long enough to win it. Little did I know that my round 2 jump had already been a long enough jump to win it, and this was just the absolute icing on the cake. And I come through, I look around, I become very, very excited, and 8 metres and 31 becomes the distance that makes me the Olympic champion. So there you have it. It's as simple as that. Do all of those key things, and you could probably become Olympic long jump champion too.